Real YouTubers had a realization that the ice typing might finally be good. I was looking like a pretty good one until the C. Hello everybody, how's it going? My name is Wolfglick, and today I'm going to be talking about how many bagels I ate. The answer is not enough. Okay, in all actuality, today we're talking about the ice type, because I had a realization. So basically, we've known about trial sterilization for a little while, so you might be wondering, okay, Wolf, like we've known about trial sterilization for a while. Obviously, ice is one of the worst types in the game, so why only now are you talking about how trial sterilization might actually make the ice type better? And the reason for that is because yesterday I made a video, excuse me, yesterday I made a video on how it was revealed that terrestrialization didn't work the way that we thought. The way that we thought that it worked is that when you changed your type, you went from, let's say, I don't know, like steel ground to like dark type, then you no longer got the additional damage you get on your steel and ground type moves for using them. Pokemon get a bonus called stab, same type attack bonus, if they use a move that is the same type as one of their types. We thought that you lost that boost because you were no longer the type. Turns out that you actually maintain your original stab boost. And so a Pokemon can basically now have 3 stab types, unless you're Delmise, which you can have 4, which I think I should make a short about. So keep your eyes open for that. Anyway, you retain your stab types. And now this benefits, different Pokemon different ways across the board. But I think it really benefits one typing in particular, which is the ice type. Now, ice as a typing is kind of the glass cannon type in that it has only one resistance to itself. It only resists ice. And that is really bad. That's really, really bad. And on top of that, it has numerous weaknesses. Like normal only has one immunity, but it only has one weakness to balance it out. Ice is weak to fire, steel, rock, fighting. Might be more, but I think that's it. That's a lot of weaknesses for a type with no resistances, basically. So to compensate for that, ice is really strong offensively. It has a dragon, which is very important, grass, flying, some of the ones that I'm blanking on right now, probably ground. So it's a very strong offensive typing and a very weak defensive typing. So maybe you can see where I'm going with this. We thought that you would basically lose the offensive benefits as well as give up your defensive typing, but you maintain your offensive type. You maintain the benefits of your offenses while changing your defensive typing. So I actually think that's really, really interesting, and I think that of course it benefits different Pokemon in different ways. I think the ice types are uniquely positioned to benefit from this because they can maintain their offensive, like they keep all the benefits of the ice type being the offensive stab and move pool, and in exchange they get to change type into something better. So what I wanted to do today was just go through some of the ice type Pokemon and talk about which ones I thought could be good. So I went through the list. I also went through Gen 7 to make sure that I didn't miss any, and I wanted to talk about a couple Pokemon that I thought had some potential. So first up is Dugong. Now, Dugong isn't that strong, mostly because Dugong, Ice Water isn't terrible. Typing is only weak to rock, fighting, and grass, and electric. So it's like doesn't have a ridiculous number of weaknesses. The main weakness of Dugong is that it has not great offensive, so like 70, it has like, space 70 on the offenses, but its bulk is actually really respectable. 90, 80, 95 is super good in all honesty. And, it's been used on some teams before because it gets moves like Fake Out, Encore, Perish Song, Disable, etc., etc. So I think that like it's not impossible for Dugong to like. I don't think it ever gets access to Scald, but I think it's possible that it could like be a little bit better on certain teams. I don't think it's ever going to be amazing, but I just wanted to go through all the Pokemon I thought had potential. Maybe Dugong shouldn't have been on here. Walrein is the same typing, but Walrein actually is really interesting because it also has a good support move pool, but has a bit higher offenses and also very, very respectable bulk. So 110 HP, 90 defense, 90 special defense is great, and 95 special attack is not terrible. It should get access to moves like, let's see, it's great support moves. It gets Yawn, it gets, I know it gets Encore. It should get Encore at least, unless I'm much mistaken. Let's find out here. Blizzard obviously is important. Does it get Scald? Does not get Scald, which is okay. At least previous gens there's Encore. Blizzard and Encore, it gets Ice Body. You can do some fun stuff with Ice Body and leftovers. It's just a really bulky Pokemon. I think something like turning Walrein into pure water type would still allow it to be like very bulky and still like be basically a menace and sit in the field for a while, and it could be disruptive with Encore and Yawn and Blizzard and a water move, Surf potentially, whatever, a Hydro Pump or whatever it gets. But lose a lot of the weaknesses of its typing. So I think for that reason, I think that Walrein's a Pokemon with potential. Now we're getting to some of the better Pokemon. These first two were kind of meh. Abomasnow is really interesting. So Abomasnow is a Pokemon. Let's take a look at the stats. Decent HP, okay defenses, pretty good offensive. No, sorry, not great offensive types or stabs, but Abomasnow, it can be a good mixed attacker, which is cool. Because its base speed is pretty low, it can do stuff like Blizzard, Wood Hammer, Ice Shard, for example, or Blizzard, Giga Drain, etc., etc. Its move pool isn't like that deep, but it doesn't really need that much more. And Abomasnow, you know, it's had some use over the years. It's worth noting. Like Abomasnow has been okay over the years. Like the thing is that its typing is so bad. If we look at its typing, you can see it's got a 4 times weakness to fire. It's got 3 resistances here: weak to fighting, weak to poison, resist ground, weak to flying, weak to bug, weak to rock, weak to steel. You know what I mean? It's like so like ice and grass. On my worst typing tier list, it was definitely in the bottom 10. It is really, really, really bad. It's also worth noting that Snow Warning as an ability is really, really good. And Abomasnow is one of the better setters in terms of overall value. Like Vanillix has been used more because it's faster and because ice typing is so bad that the Pokemon's going to get KO'd for like quickly anyway. So Vanillix was better because it would actually get a Blizzard off before it went down a lot of the time. With Terrestrialization, though, I was thinking about it, and imagine turning a Abomasnow into a water type. So you lead with a Abomasnow, you set up the Hail, and then you Terrestrialize into a water type. And so the ground or the electric types that are strong into water, they don't like Abomasnow, right? They don't do anything to Abomasnow. The grass types that are strong into water, they don't like Abomasnow, right? Like they don't want to fight against Blizzard Abomasnow, right? And stuff like fire, now you resist that. You're not weak to rock, you're not weak to fighting, you're not weak to bug, you're not weak to poison. Yeah, like you don't share, and you were weak to steel, and now you resist steel. So you could do stuff like Blizzard, Giga Drain, Terra Blast Water. You could do that Blizzard, Wood Hammer, Ice Shards that I mentioned. And you could actually get a Abomasnow to stick around for a while. You could give it a Citrus Berry and take advantage of its like decent, like not great natural bulk, but decent. Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of stuff you can do like with that. And so with this ability, you still, or with Terra Water, you would have a Pokemon that, you know, has a really good natural type. And you could have a Pokemon that like sets up the Hail, gives you your team accurate Blizzards, right? And on top of that, you can still get Stab Blizzard, which is a very, very, very powerful attack. You could still get Stab Giga Drain, which is useful as a water type to get rid of the opposing water types, to make sure like, okay, yeah, like even if your opponent has a strong water type, like you have a water type that beats water types. And on top of that, you like basically you get the benefits of your offensive type being ice, and you get the benefits of your defensive type being water. And I think Abomasnow is a really great candidate for that. I wanted to call out Weavile because Weavile is a pretty strong Pokemon with not good. It's an offensive Pokemon. It's not supposed to stick around for forever. But if you like, its bulk isn't awful. Like mainly Weavile feels like it's weak, not because it's getting KO'd by neutral attacks, but because it's weak to rock and fighting and steel and bug and fire and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think something like Terra fighting Weavile with a moveset of Fake Out, Icicle Crash, Low Kick, and a Dark Move, Knock Off, Throw Chop, whatever, depending on what's in the game, could be really strong. Because I think what it would allow you to do is, number one, get Stab on your Low Kick, which is really valuable because Steel types are typically used to switch into Ice moves. They're like kind of the primary one. Also, other Ice types are also weak to fighting. So you would still get the benefit of like, you basically make your fighting type moves even stronger, and you also would potentially no longer need to run the Focus Sash item because you might not be getting KO'd in one hit anymore. And so I think Weavile, for example, just by giving up its pretty abysmal defensive typing, could now afford to run items that are not the Life Orb, which I think is exciting personally. And I think it can make Weavile really interesting because it's got, again, Ice is a really strong offensive type, and Dark is not terrible at all. And with fighting coverage, you actually get like pretty decent setup or like pretty decent coverage, but the main weakness is it gets one shot by everything, and so it needs to run Focus Sash. So maybe you could run Life Orb, maybe you could run Expert Belt, like who knows. But I think that it's at least an option. Mamoswine is one of the better ice types. It's the only ice type Pokemon to have ever won Worlds. They also buffed it in the last generation, being Oblivious. So Oblivious was buffed in that now it's immune to Intimidate, which is pretty valuable in a Pokemon like Mamoswine. So Mamoswine can be bulky with Assault Vest. It can be offensive with a choice item, especially Choice Scarf. Normal moveset is Ice Shard, Earthquake, Icicle Crash, and Protect. But I think it should get... Does it get Superpower? Yeah, so it got Superpower in Sword and Shield. So with this, I mentioned this in the other BonusWolfe video I did, but like basically with Superpower, a lot of the Pokemon that resist Ice and Ground is really difficult as a combination to switch into because it just has really, really, really phenomenal offensive coverage. And like when I think of Pokemon that resist Ice and Ground, it's mostly Pokemon with Levitate, like Pokemon like Rotom, for example, Rotom Wash and Heat. What else does this? Like What else resists ice and ground? Steel, like a steel type with levitate. Like it's really like, I mean, maybe I'm just being dumb, but like it's really difficult to think of. Like certain water types can do it. Like water. I can't think of any Pokemon that resist it. I'm sure I know that there are some, but it hits like over half of all the Pokemon ever created for at least for super effective maybe, and it might even be for neutral much even more. So basically, it's a very small pool of Pokemon that can resist this, and something like a Saltfest Mamoswine with Earthquake, Icicle Crash, Ice Shard, Superpower, Terra Fighting sounds really good to me. Terra Fighting is not a terrible type at all. It doesn't really share that many weaknesses with ice and ground as a typing. You're not weak to fire or fighting or steel or anything. You can also now beat steel type Pokemon, which is cool. And yeah, now you have a Pokemon that is, I don't know if there's any Pokemon in the game that resists ground, ice, and fighting. So taking advantage of Mamoswine's natural offenses is really, really strong. And you can't intimidate it either. I don't like Glaceon, but I would like it a lot more if you could change its type. Glaceon actually has seen some play when power level is much lower in a format. It's got two abilities that benefit from Hail, Snowcloak being the more popular one. There were teams that really tried to take advantage of both Hail and Trick Room, and Glaceon's stats are actually pretty well suited for this. It has, like, okay, not good HP, but not terrible, pretty high base defense, and then really high special attack with not, like, respectable special defense, nothing's wrong with this, and then, like, a middling to low speed stat. So being able to run Glaceon on, like, in a team which, like, with a goal of setting up Hail and Trick Room and just spamming Blizzard to overwhelm the opponent is totally viable, and Glaceon's move pool isn't that great, but it really does benefit from Terra Blast. So water is like one of the easiest types that come to mind when it comes to Glaceon, but there's other ones as well that could work, like maybe Fairy is okay. Now you really want something that hits steel types. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, like basically probably Terra, maybe Terra Ground. That's not terrible. Yeah, like, so ground or water are both respectable, but basically, like, being able to take advantage of your high base special attack, still getting these 130 base special attack blizzards, which is pretty powerful, or ice beams. You can run Ice Shard, which is pretty valuable, and you can now run Terra Blast to improve your kind of middling to weaker coverage. So I think Glaceon's another Pokemon that could benefit. Rotom Frost actually specifically is really interesting because what you can do with Rotom Frost is you can terrestrialize into the electric type, which is like pretty interesting to me, because then if you so Rotom Frost is traditionally considered the fourth best Rotom. It's typically the generally agreed upon order is Wash, then Heat, then Mow, then Frost, then Fan, then Base. That's like the generally agreed upon order. Of course, it can vary under the circumstances. Rotom Frost being the fourth worst Rotom could actually go from being the fourth best to the it's actually pretty viable. So by using Terra Electric Rotom Frost, you create a Pokemon with no weaknesses because you are an electric type whose only weakness is ground, and you have Levitate, so you're immune. You have no weaknesses. So we've gone from a Pokemon with 4 weaknesses to a Pokemon with none, right? It doesn't show me. Ice Frost Rotom. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 weaknesses to a Pokemon with 0 weaknesses. That on its own is already pretty good, right? Okay, like we have a Pokemon with Blizzard, Stab Blizzard, and no weaknesses. But you can go even further. We have Terra Electric Rotom Frost, and on top of that, so we have no weaknesses. We still maintain Stab Blizzard, so we have some of the best offensive coverage in the game. Electric and Ice was traditionally thought of as like if you could have only 2 types of moves, it was called Bolt Beam back in the day for Thunderbolt and Ice Beam, Bolt Beam. And it was considered generally to be like ideal offensive coverage. Like you would basically just, I think like Jirachi ran it in singles, like Porygon 2 runs it often. Like it's just like basically, I don't know if there's very, very, very few Pokemon that resist both. You're not hitting everything for super effective, but you hit a fair bit. And you just having incredible offensive coverage. So you have Ice and Electric, which are 2 very complementary offensive types. But the even more impressive thing is that, so you have no weakness, you have great offensive coverage, you have Blizzard, one of the best ice moves in the game if you can get the Hail up, and your electric moves become even stronger because you have terrestrialized into a type that you already were. So you're getting an additional power boost on top of your base, like just your base stats. And so, yeah, for that reason, I think that Rotom Frost could actually be really, really good. This could be the time where Rotom Frost is actually legitimately good because it gets to maintain the benefit of being a Rotom type, but get like an additional benefit on top of that. And so, yeah, I think like a team, you could very easily run something like Rotom Frost and Abomasnow on a team together with Terra Water Abomasnow, Terra Electric Rotom Frost, and depending on the situation, just have really strong offensive ice moves. With in both scenarios, depending on what type you wanted and which Pokemon was better, you'd have a Pokemon that could be like really difficult to remove, like a water type Abomasnow paired with Rotom Frost, or electric type Rotom Frost benefiting from the hail. So I think it's really interesting personally. That's what I want to say. Let's actually talk about Arctovish next. Arctovish, I don't have that much to say, but it has the ability Slush Rush, which doubles its speed when the hail is in effect. On top of that, it has Dracovish's signature move, Vicious Rend. So something like Vicious Rend Arctovish with Terra Water, I think could actually be really good, because its bulk is actually really good. 90 HP, 100 defense, 90 special defense. Basically holding it back because it's pretty low base speed, but again, with Slush Rush, you should be able to outspeed most Pokemon. You can get faster than Zacian with this, although hopefully Zacian's not in the game. Fingers crossed. I don't have any hope. But yeah, you basically can turn from a Pokemon with, like, again, Water Ice is not terrible defensive typing, but it is not good. And you can turn from a Pokemon with, yeah, like pretty not great defensive typing to pure water, which allows you to be much bulkier. You only have 2 weaknesses. You give up 3 of your weaknesses. Rock. You give up rock, fighting. I guess just 2. I guess just 2. You give up rock and fighting weaknesses, which is still, I mean, cutting your weaknesses in half basically. Is super nice. And then you also make your Vicious Rend stronger, which again is the move that most of you are familiar with from Dracovish. Yeah. And you could do something like Assault Vest, you could do something like Life Orb, you could do like Choice Band, and just make this Pokemon very, very, very powerful. So in the Hail, for example, for a Hail team, you could do Terra Water Abomasnow, Terra Water Arctovish, which I don't know if it's going to be in the game, but, you know, we'll suspend disbelief for a little bit. Terra Electric Rotom Frost, and you have 3 really, really good Terra options, all that benefit from the Hail, which is kind of like a good anti-weather. So, yeah. So basically, I think it's really interesting because you've got these great defenses. Your attack set isn't, the best ever, but considering how strong Vicious Rend is actually pretty powerful. And then you also get the benefit of making your Vicious Rend even stronger because of the Terra multiplication. So I think that it's a really interesting Pokemon, and I think that it could legitimately be good for the first time ever, which is exciting. So yeah, just another example of a Pokemon that could benefit from this. Last but not least is Frosmoth. Now, Frosmoth has one of the coolest abilities ever made, in my opinion, which is Ice Scales, which is the Pokemon's protected by Ice Scales. It takes half damage from special moves, and its special bulk is not bad. 90 base special defense, 70 HP, 60 defense isn't great, but on the special side, Frosmoth is very, very, very tanky. I mean, this is, it takes half damage off of an already respectable special defense stat. And it gets access to the move Quiver Dance, which again boosted special defense even further. Now, Frosmoth is a really interesting Pokemon that has Ice and Bug is the single worst typing in the game. If you want to know why, I made a whole video on it. I actually made 2 videos where I talk about how bad Ice and Bug is. So you can check those out on the main channel. But yeah, like Frosmoth, actually, Adrive top cut a regional with Frosmoth, despite the fact that it has the worst typing in the game, because it actually has a lot going for it. Respectable stats, right? Like, we have very good special attack, decent speed. I mean, speed's not good, but you have Quiver Dance to boost that. Great special defense, good HP, and then middling to lower defense. But yeah, because of how powerful Quiver Dance plus Ice Scales is, this Pokemon becomes incredibly, incredibly tanky. So the other thing is that it doesn't even need, it's not forced to run this kind of Quiver Dance set. You have access to Wide Guard and Tailwind, so it can even be support. But I think something like Terra Electric Frosmoth, and you run Protect, Quiver Dance, Ice Beam, or Blizzard, depending on your team, and then Terra Blast is really interesting. You can also run Bug Buzz and not even worry about Terra Blast if you want to have the option of not terastallizing it. I think that's totally fine. Turning into an electric type, turning into a water type, I think both of those are really good. I say electric because Frosmoth, most of the time you're going to want to, it already resists ground, so people probably aren't going to be clicking ground moves into it. And you don't get that many resistances with electric. You get steel, electric, and flying, which isn't that good. I guess, I mean, actually, no, electric's pretty good here because you're weak to steel and you're weak to flying already. So yeah, you can turn into an electric type, get a Quiver Dance off, and then still have the benefit of your ice type offensively, and now you're boosted, and you get the benefit of your very strong ability, Ice Scales. But you're not weak to all these types anymore. You're weak to one type if you turn into electric, and that one type being ground, you have ice moves. And ideally, you've Quiver Danced at a time where you can get set up properly. So now you're faster than a lot of the ground types. So I think it's a really, really interesting Pokemon. I think it could be I think Pokemon like this with decent stats, really cool ability, or great stats, whatever, but are really held back by its typing, I think they really stand to benefit from terastallization, especially when the format first comes out. So yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about all this. These are all the Pokemon I wanted to talk about. But yeah, let me know what you think. This ended up being a little longer than I intended, but I hope you found it interesting. I mean, I think it's a really cool concept. Like, I think ice types uniquely benefit in a way that not a lot of other Pokemon do. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Definitely interested in hearing it. And I will talk to you, I don't know, sometime soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.